Just in case you were wondering, I am not a monk, but I say that more for myself than anyone dropping by this channel. So, for a very long time, I have literally felt the pull to literally become a monk, to follow a traditional, you could say, renunciate or transcendent path like Buddhism or certain types of Hinduism or even Christianity, especially Orthodox Christianity. And it's been a real war because there's part of it's a genuine vocation. I feel such a pull towards the sacred and communion with the sacred and service. And part of it is I've suffered a lot. I've suffered so much, and it's just like I want to bring suffering to an end. And of course help others bring suffering to an end. So, and here's where it gets really interesting. Part of it is avoidance. Not wanting to deal with my feelings, not wanting to deal with the problems of life. Like life is bumpy and messy, and just not wanting to deal with those things. So it's been, I first had this impulse when I was 19, and I'm 51 years young. So it's been, 32, 33 years. And it's been such a tug of war, because while I have felt that pull, my real values are creativity, especially dancing and poetry, connection and intimacy, things like Tantra and Neo-Tantra, and, authenticity and transparency and being vulnerable. And like that's my bread and butter, like dancing, poetry, conscious intimacy, and creativity. Like that's who I am. I'm a ridiculously passionate, creative, emotional, sensitive being. So it's like I've been trying to live this other life by literally trying to become a monk. And, it's easy to say like, oh, that's not me. But at a certain point, it became like an addiction. And, addiction, in my understanding, is not just alcohol and drugs or food and sex, or like addiction is any harmful behavior that we not just struggle to stop, but really struggle, like willpower and insight is not sufficient. Like it needs to be like a full-on program or process. So yeah, it's kind of like an addiction, because as I said, there is that genuine vocation towards communion with spirit, and there is a genuine desire to end suffering, but there's also this like avoidance of like not wanting to do the human thing, and not wanting to deal with life. Like, it's a little embarrassing to say that's part of what has driven my spiritual path, is like a kind of escapism. But it's kind of hit a point where if I don't make this change, I'm gonna die. And I'm not being dramatic. I shared in the last couple videos that I can't say the word here on TikTok, but that I've been suicidal and wanted to unalive myself. I think you can catch my meaning. And I've struggled with that for a very long time. I'm just starting to see that I have a genuine vocation towards these things. I'm already teaching dance, but to do it even more. And I have a vocation towards helping people explore conscious intimacy, specifically platonic intimacy, when there's no sexual or romantic connection, like cuddling and eye gazing, and this form of dance called contact improv. Like I have a genuine calling to share these things with the world, and it's incompatible philosophically with the whole transcendent monk thing, but it's also not compatible practically. Like a monk is someone, or a nun is someone who like they meditate and pray and do service, and that's what they do, and just that. And when they do service, it's not like teaching dance or teaching eye gazing or teaching tantra. It's like, like teaching other people how to, like, it can be like hands-on, like teaching people how to read. But this, it's not like they're completely separate, but there is this way in which they're two very different paths. And regardless, the whole monk thing is literally killing me. And I'm not in any danger right now, and I've got some allies. I'm starting to build a support network and allies of people who really understand, this dance I'm trying to do. Some of them professional, some of them peers. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. For like over 30 plus years, I've been kind of practicing what's called spiritual bypass, when you use a spiritual teaching to try and escape something. Like, it's one thing to strive to overcome suffering, but to literally do a spiritual practice to like dissociate from life or dissociate from your feelings, that's not spiritual at all. Like, that's straight up escapism, and that's basically what addiction is. So yeah, I'm not a monk. I'm like a spiritual bypass addict, or addicted to spiritual bypass. And I'm feeling confident that I'm going to show up for this, and that the resources are showing up, inner and outer. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. So thank you so much for your time, energy, and attention. I hope some of what I shared, I know that I'm not the only one. I have a YouTube channel about fake non-duality, Neo-Advaita, and that's just really that's really an example of spiritual bypass, like gone very much, just intense spiritual bypass. So, and I know I'm not the only one. I've met people all around the world who are struggling with this, who have inadvertently turned their spiritual path or their spiritual practice into an addiction. And but please do share. I know comments, you can't really say a whole lot in comments to this video, but I'd love to hear other people's experience of spiritual bypass, and how they overcame it, especially how they overcame it. But again, thank you so very much. I wish you a blessed, integrated, like a tree, like branches reaching up, connected to spirit, and just like deeply rooted and grounded. Like, that's what I believe, that's what the world needs, is like people who are, yes, connected to something higher, and like rooted here in this gorgeous yet very painful and challenging world we live in. Big love.